Yo, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the latest in boxing news. I only have one question for Dillian Whyte, and that is, why did it take you so long to knock out that old ass man by the name of Lucas Browne? Now, I hate to be that rabbit, guys. I hate to be that rabbit to come out of his little, rabbit hole in the back alley and tell you the truth about Dillian Whyte's knockout over Lucas Browne. I hate to be that guy. But I have to be that guy, because if I don't say anything, no one's going to say anything, because nobody has the balls to say anything. Because the majority of boxing channels out there and the majority of boxing fans out there were acting like this was a competitive fight. They were acting like this was a competitive fight. The Lucas Browne versus Dillian Whyte. Oh, this is a great competitive fight. I saw some people saying this is going to be a barn burner, a good fight. I was probably one of the only channels. I'm not going to say I was the only one, but I was one of the only channels that was going around saying that this was a mismatch. That Dillian Whyte was going to easily, and I mean easily, defeat Lucas Browne. Go look at any of my videos of the past 2 months where I was talking about this fight. And if you, again, go to my channel and scroll back at my history and look at every video I made talking about Lucas Browne versus Dillian Whyte. At no point was I saying this was going to be a competitive fight. This was going to be, Lucas Browne, has a chance. No. Matter of fact, the last video I made on this fight, my final thoughts video, talking about this fight, I said that Lucas Browne only has a puncher's chance. I said this was going to be easy work. I said I expect Dillian Whyte to beat the dog shit out of Lucas Browne. And it's funny, a lot of boxing fans out there, they come to my channel, they leave me comments, they question my boxing knowledge. You don't know shit about boxing, you don't know what you're talking about. But sometimes I question a lot of you guys boxing knowledge, because like I said, a lot of you guys were saying that this was a good fight, this was a competitive fight. Meanwhile, Mr. I don't know about boxing apparently was saying that this was a mismatch. And I told you guys why it was a mismatch. It's funny how boxing works. Dillian Whyte knocks out Lucas Browne, and all of a sudden everybody's on his dick. All of a sudden everybody's on his cock. Oh wow, I bet Wilder wouldn't want to fight Dillian Whyte now because he knocked out Lucas Browne. Anybody with half a brain would have told you that this was the only conclusion of this fight. I don't know why there was boxing channels out there saying this was a competitive fight. Maybe you guys are blind, or don't know the history of boxing. But boxing is a young man's sport. I've been saying for weeks this was an easy fight for Dillian Whyte. I said he was gonna beat the dog shit out of Lucas Browne, so I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised when Dillian Whyte beat the dog shit out of Lucas Browne, and I wasn't surprised when Dillian Whyte knocked out Lucas Browne. I wasn't surprised because, like I said, to me, this was a foregone conclusion. Everybody over here is kissing Dillian Whyte's ass for knocking out an old-ass man. I've been saying for weeks the reason why I believe this is an easy fight for Dillian Whyte is because Dillian Whyte has been way more active than Lucas Browne. He's been way more active. He's been constantly fighting. He's been constantly fighting in the ring. Although he's been fighting against some bums, like when he fought that bum against, in the undercard of the Terrence Crawford versus Julius Ndongo fight, I still felt like he was busier. Not only that, I said in my last video regarding this fight that Lucas Browne is about 10 years his senior. And that Lucas Browne hadn't fought in 2 years. And that when Lucas Browne, fought a real test, which was an old-ass Ruslan Shagayev, he was getting the shit beat out of him. That's why I said in my last video, again, check my last video, I said I expect this to be a massacre. I expect Dillian Whyte to beat the dog shit out of him because boxing is a young man's game. Dillian Whyte's young, he's active. Lucas Browne is old and he's inactive, and he looked like shit the first time he stepped up in class when he fought Ruslan Shagaev, who was washed up and he was getting dropped. I even said I don't think he has a chin. So that's why I wasn't surprised when Dillian Whyte did what Dillian Whyte did. This was an easy fight for Dillian Whyte. You know, you guys have to start giving me some credit for my boxing knowledge. You know, I said the same thing. You know, here's the difference. I know what you're going to say. Oh, why are you giving Dillian Whyte credit now? But when Wilder was set to fight Luis Ortiz, you were clowning him, and then all of a sudden you started kissing his ass. Nah, that's not the way it works. Here's what I was doing. I always knew Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz was going to be a competitive fight. But I like to rattle boxing fans. Oh yeah, you guys know that. So I went around acting like this was a shitty fight between Wilder versus Ortiz. But if you remember, in the last week of the fight, I was finally giving Deontay Wilder some credit, and I was saying this was going to be a competitive fight. That wasn't the case, though, when it came to Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Browne, because I always knew that this was an easy fight for Dillian Whyte. So that's why throughout the whole time where I was making videos talking about this fight, I was saying that this was going to be, I wasn't giving Lucas Browne a chance. I was saying this was a mismatch. So again, you guys are going around kissing Dillian Whyte's ass, kissing his ass, kissing the shit out of his ass. But I'm not fooled. I'm not fooled by Dillian Whyte. I'm not fooled. I saw Dillian Whyte struggle with Robert Helenius. I'm not going to be fooled by Dillian Whyte knocking out old-ass Lucas Browne, who was inactive for 2 years. I mean, did you see Lucas Browne's gut? Lucas Browne had literally a massive gut hanging out of his system. I felt like I was watching a young lion versus an old-ass dog. This was a mismatch. This is why I'm not impressed. The knockout was spectacular, by the way. Yes, I was impressed by the knockout. It's very spectacular. Hopefully, Lucas Browne didn't die. But what I wasn't impressed was the fact that Lucas Browne, I wasn't impressed with the competition. Lucas Browne has never impressed me. And Lucas Browne, like I said, he's been so inactive and he's an old fighter. That's why, even though I was impressed with the knockout, I wasn't impressed with Lucas Browne as a talent, as a skill set. When it came to Wilder, Luis Ortiz is a way better talent than someone like Lucas Browne. Yeah, they're the same age, but he's a better talent. And he actually has skills. You know, he's not just some guy and he was active. So don't come at me with that. You see, because you got a lot of these channels out here that, you know, they'll bash Wilder for knocking out Luis Ortiz and say he's old, but then they'll kiss Dillian Whyte's ass for beating up an old, inactive Lucas Browne who's nowhere near as skillful as someone like Luis Ortiz. And but those are those channels, those biased channels, not my channel. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. If you watched the video from start to finish, as always, much appreciated. Subscribe for daily boxing videos, guys.